The WoW team is getting super aggressive about bot situation, and we're reminded why not everyone can handle data mining. Hey, it's Soul, and this is Warcraft Weekly, the show that gives it to you gently. You can help the channel by hitting the like button, you can subscribe for more coverage, catch me live on Twitch, and I know that the show is coming out a little bit late. I just got over a migraine headache, so if you don't mind, I'm gonna be a bit more brisk. So we first got to talk about the newest idea Blizzard's going to try to combat botting in World of Warcraft. Over in Season of Discovery, their next phase is going to start next week. And there's going to be a bunch of cool stuff. I'm not going to spoil any of it, but you probably already know everything anyway. And I want to put a spotlight on what's happening to GDKP runs, aka a raid group where the loot rules are based on using gold to bid on items like an auction. From their statement, they say, "We are experimenting with a new policy which will no longer allow GDKP runs in Season of Discovery. While we understand that there are some benefits for those who find this a convenient way to gain gear, we also recognize that there are concerns surrounding the erosion of traditional guild and social structures that are a part of the spirit of Season of Discovery. Given the experimental nature of Season of Discovery, we want to try things without this type of transaction taking place in this game mode. With the launch on February 8th, we'll be restricting this activity. We'll have more information to share on our official channels, and we'll be monitoring feedback closely." They're not really saying what the tech is, we can only guess, but in a different post, the team said that it's being actively tested right now, both on classic and modern versions of the game, with some very positive results from it. The reactions from fans, though, have been mixed. Like, on one side, we have people who participate in these runs who are mad. While the WoW team likes to say that they're all for traditional guild and social structure, that's a real challenge for some people. Like, you gotta join a guild, you gotta build rapport to even get in on the raid team, you gotta go in on some set schedule, and then maybe maybe use some fangled loot council system thing to make sure that people are given gear fairly. I mean, yeah, okay, fair is great and all, but what about my best in slot, right? So GDKP runs, they free people of those social commitments, and instead of made-up social currency, raiders use virtual, gold currency that can be used anywhere in WoW, and that's pretty easy. I can see how well this works in a world where people want to focus on just that part of the gameplay. On the other side of it, though, there's no question this practice makes it obvious that the ideal way to get gear is to just have more gold than the next guy, which encourages having as much gold as possible, which means obtaining it by any means necessary. Side note, I'm a big supporter of the MMO trope that I call the rich one, who, the kind of person who just pays for carries, maybe pays a little bit more for exclusive rights to loot if it drops. When it's a single person, that feels, for lack of a better term, okay, and they're paying, I guess, the market price for what a carry is. I think the WoW team made it clear that the practice of buying carries or boosts or whatever, it's not being affected here. In GDKP runs, though, sometimes the bids, they may end up low, but essentially it's like PvP, but with gold, and the bidding can definitely get out of hand, and ultimately, this demand for gold is what influences the main source of it, the rampant botting that helps supply these higher and higher bids. Personally, I feel like this is a bigger problem in Classic than it is in the modern game, because while there are carry services for achievements and gear, there's also far more gearing options and many more supported playstyles, unlike the Classic era of games. So I don't sense the end of GDKP runs, game-wide. I don't expect it to affect whether I'll be able to get gear in War Within. Like, you're gonna find me in Delves, whoop-de-doo. For now, though, that's where we're at, but what do you think? In what I'm gonna call normal news this week, a new round of trading post items revealed itself, showcasing a host of cosmetics themed after the Love is in the Air holiday that's coming this month. And it's very pink. Along with that came some shop items, like a very cool toy that people can click on to turn into a Murloc who does some fancy tricks, and a dark themed version of some of the trading post items that came in this month. While the Murloc toy doesn't seem like it's going to go on to the trading post, the new transmog set definitely will, but not before a few months from now. And that's kind of it. That's the news that the normies see, the folks who don't have the news being read to them, whose only exposure to updates come from the main site and the WoW launcher. But you, viewer, you're special. You're a cut above the rest. You want to know how the sausage gets made, the inside info, things ahead of time, mostly thanks to data mining and other coverage. That's why you're here watching this, or you're looking at Wowhead, and that's why, under what's normally just the new items popping in this week, there's this layer of animosity among some fans because, okay, cool, these new sets, we saw these back in like November. We knew that they were coming, and the question was less about when, because the theme, it just screams Valentine's and stuff, but more like how and which one and in what order. Previews in general are cool. They're cool when they're done well. They drum up hype and discussion. It keeps the product in the news. In many cases, though, World of Warcraft doesn't quite work like that. They do their share of previews, yeah, but for people who regularly hang on the internet, our first exposure to WoW-related things usually comes in the form of data mined information. Data mining is what it is. It's a dig-in for information by fans well before release, oftentimes before any context is given behind what it is that we're seeing early. This also goes for poking around the PTR for achievement names or quest and story spoilers or whatever before those things are incomplete or, well, finished. And not everyone can handle that. For some, seeing a reward without the reason behind it means they're going to kind of fill in gaps, from reasonable expectations to outright conspiracy theories, but overall, just this kind of not so great feeling, this not very ideal reaction. Just over the weekend, gamers lost their minds over findings from Wowhead that the Corcoran Warwolf, a discontinued mount related to completing the Siege of Orgrimmar raid, was given a tender price, prompting backlash and a huge debate over skill-based rewards with an expiration date. It went on long enough that the WoW team had to step in and respond, saying pretty bluntly that, at this time, we do not plan to offer mount or other skill-based prestige rewards from achievements such as Cutting Edge, Ahead of the Curve, or Gladiator in the trading post. So while the debate was healthy overall, it was a ton of wasted energy that started from data mining. Folks were hoping to get the darker version of this Love Witches attire as part of the trading post, and instead, oh no, it's part of an in-game shop bundle. The small twist to it is that this will be put into the trading post eventually if one isn't interested in throwing down real money. Now that proved to be a reassuring plus for some, but not for others who are hoping against hope that maybe multiple versions could be given to players, sort of like the Burden of Unrelenting Justice set. I could go on, but the point that I'm making is that within our kind of crowd who likes to look under the hood, there's a whole spectrum of impatience that, again, not everyone can handle, but we do it anyway. And what's unfortunate is that I don't see a path towards us ever being actually blind to what's coming. The Season of Discovery is an attempt from the WoW team to surprise folks, and in this upcoming phase, even the likes of Wowhead, they're not going to get into spoiling how to access these new runes that'll be made available, at least not yet, not until the knowledge has mostly gone public, and that got some people mad. The circumstances aren't the same, they're motivated differently because, dude, this is progression. These people want to, race towards their goals, and there's nothing wrong with that, just like how there's no problem with wanting to be spoiled. It's just that this week, with folks anticipating any good news after the big layoffs, some reacted very strongly to this news and the non-news. So I'm curious to get your reactions and your thoughts this week, because that's the show. I want to thank my wonderful, wonderful family over on Twitch for joining me this week for the fun, my beloved patrons, and you too, viewer. You fed the algorithm. Now all you got to do is hit the like button, subscribe for more stuff, catch me live on Twitch, and I hope to catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.